minus 10 minutes. Minus 9 minutes. Minus 8 minutes. minus 7 minutes. T minus 6 minutes. T minus 5 minutes. T minus for minutes. T minus 3 minutes. T-minus 2 minutes. T-minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
How about that? I'll tell you what, it's one of my favorite days of the week. It's a Wednesday. It's the RP show. Howdy do. How are y'all, as they say? We're coming to you from the Golden Ticket Sports Center. It's episode number 1631 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. And because it's Wednesday, you probably should know by now that it's just me. Hi, ta-da, for hour one. And in hour two, Bob Marjanovich will be joining us, the voice of the BC Lions. The Lions are all fired up to see the Moj on the air with us. A Vancouver sports talk icon, the Moj. He is, and a very, very, very good guy. The one thing that I love about these Wednesdays when it's just me is I can really get in to the stories and all the rest. I don't have to put up with Scruffy and all these. By the way, happy birthday, Scruffy. We won't say how old he is, but I learned via Facebook today that our Monday and Tuesday's co-host is celebrating another lap around the sun today. But the Moj will be with us in hour two, but I can get into more of my stories and so forth. And it's fun. I'll tell you, I opened up the text line because I don't carry it outside show hours. The Western Dodge text line, 902-518-3033, if you want to reach me right here at the Golden Ticket Sports Center. And very first text I see is from yesterday's show. Darcy up in Grand Prairie, Alberta. Racy says, great show, RP. And I'm like, great show? You know what he's talking about, Corey? Yesterday's show. Where we had, it was not a great show. Yeah, what are you talking about? Producer Corey saying in my ear, will publicly say it sucked because of issues. But anyways, we got them all straightened out, as you can see. I don't need to get into. You don't care how the hot dog's made. You just want to enjoy the hot dog. And well, you got the biggest hot dog on the air right now. Let's go. Quick 6 show topics because this opening segment flies by. We'll open with the big story. It is December after all in Canada. It's the National Hockey League. And Shea Theodore scored the shootout winner as the Vegas Golden Knights defeated the Chicago Blackhawks 4-3 in goaltender Carter Hart's debut with the team. Hart, one of 5 2018 Canada World Junior Hockey players acquitted of sexual assault in July, made his first NHL appearance in nearly 2 years and stopped 27 shots in the win. Hart received an enthusiastic reaction and the loudest response before Vegas's home game. So, let's talk about it. Let's do it. Okay. The YouTube chat is, I should mention, we are live across Canada and 32 U.S. states on the Game Plus television network. In hour 2, we go to air across Nevada on the Silver State Sports Entertainment Network. So clearly they have thoughts on this. I'd love to know yours. The only problem when I don't have a co-host is it's kind of hard to, keep talking to you and keep my eye on the comments with everybody. But I've seen the coverage out of this, and I was very closely watching the results of the game last night as much as I could. I didn't watch the game because, frankly, in Canada, I don't have NHL center ice. And I just didn't have the ability to watch the game. But I was pulling for Carter Hart, and I want to know how many other people were. Because it's in my commentary today at rodpedersen.com, airing across Saskatchewan radio. There's still many sides of this. I just read the Canadian press story of why Carter Hart is a controversial figure in sports and across the country. I don't need to remind you, I have many times, about the term acquitted. But I saw the coverage coming out of Las Vegas where media outlets were interviewing past sexual abuse survivors. And let me stop for those that don't know. As a certified professional mental health coach that I am, and that includes grief, stress, and trauma recovery, I deal with a lot of sexual abuse victims and survivors. And a lot of the people that are very upset about the fact that Carter Hart's playing, or any of the others that were named of the five, it's triggering something in them. Not necessarily survivors and victims, but maybe families of so forth. A lot of people have been affected by this hideous act in culture, in society. But as far as the Vegas Golden Knights go, acquitted is acquitted. Carter Hart has moved on, and I was pulling for the kid last night. And then I didn't see the interviews afterwards from him, but I heard that he broke up when speaking with the media. Listen, it is not an easy position to play, let alone making your home debut with a new team after all of it. Nice to see the Vegas people responded with the ovation. And like I said, a lot of the people that have a big problem with him coming back and the other four, it's triggering something in them that isn't those five's fault. That's all that I will say. I've seen it a million times. And it doesn't need to be an ugly story anymore. But what I put in my commentary was that Vegas Golden Knights general manager Kelly McCrimmon is all about winning first. He's a very, very intelligent man who knows the ins and outs of the legal system and wants to win. And I go back to Kevin Carius coming on this program last week and saying that Stuart Skinner's a better goalie than Carter Hart. No, he's not. No, he's not. And maybe Skinner's got better career numbers. Had you seen Philadelphia play when Carter Hart was the goalie? I did. With my own eyes, multiple times in Sunrise. That was a team that flat out didn't care. Stuart Skinner doesn't have that problem in Edmonton. Carter Hart had that problem in Philadelphia. And anyways, oh my smokes, we're down to 2 minutes left already. I'm only on the first game. Yeah, we're going fast. We're going fast. But that's okay. That'll give me time in the first break to look at the comments that have come in from the viewers and so forth. But I think what I ended the point in my commentary today on the Rod Pedersen commentary is that the Vegas Golden Knights and Carter Hart and also the National Hockey League have all moved on. And the people that are still protesting, the people that are still interviewing past victims, they need to move on, and they're going to need help to move on. They're going to need a lot of help, a lot of professional help to move on. But that was the highlight of the night. Connor Bedard scored 1 goal in the game in a 4-3 Chicago loss. And that reminds me, just so you know, here's the roadmap of what's coming up here in hour one and throughout the program. A lot of NHL. I know so many people equate me with football because, yeah, I worked in it a long time, but hockey is my number one. That's my passion, which reminds me I'm wearing my Overtime Hockey Lanes jacket today from Randy at OT Hockey Lanes in Calgary. It's warm. It's a warm coat, and it's cold. I couldn't wear it in the summertime. It's too warm, so I'm excited to wear it here in Moose Jaw tonight. And why are we wearing Overtime Hockey Lanes gear? Because we support the people that support us. How about that? I'll get to the rest of the NHL, NFL, Dallas Cowboys. Some exciting news from the NFL that I want to get to with you. all when we come back. So we are just getting warmed up, if you can believe. We are live across Canada and 32 U.S. states on the Game Plus TV network, YouTube live podcast, and 1700 AM Mission Radio.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away. ultimatefanzone.ca or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are at the Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw, and welcome across Canada and 32 U.S. states, watching here on Game Plus TV. For those that just joined, if you joined us late, shame on you. We have got only through one topic already. I'll tell you, this is going to go real fast this opening hour before Bob Marjanovich joins us. I did see Scott in Vancouver has written in and says, what time is Moj on? Moj will be on at 1:15 Eastern, okay? But you're welcome to sit through me until then. Bob Marjanovich, voice of the BC Lions, coming up. I got to tell some Moj stories coming up before he gets on, just so you know what kind of guy he is. But the opening point was Carter Hart played his first game in nearly 2 years. Not easy to play goal in the NHL. Made 27 saves for the Vegas Golden Knights in a 4-3 shootout victory over the Chicago Blackhawks in the Fortress. Rob in the Queen City writes in. He's on the Western Dodge text line. He says, I felt great for Carter Hart. Seeing the interview after the game, you could just see the appreciation and emotion. Joe writes in from Brandon. He says, I was happy to see Carter Hart came back and was able to have success. He seemed genuine in the whole court thing, so I was happy and hope he'll continue to have success. Blair in Calgary writes that he says, hello, Rod. Isn't it the saying innocent until proven guilty after a sexual assault allegation? Good luck with that. Not really. Acquitted. Acquitted is the term that we're getting at here. And it was a very, very, very ugly situation that, while I don't know the parties involved, I'm pretty sure they all wish it hadn't happened and they'd all like to move on. And everybody needs to move on. 902-518-3033 is the text line. Okay, hang on with the Cowboys talk. We're getting to it, okay? We're getting to that. And that is the poll question, but I told you I've got a whole lot of hockey stuff to get to. I meant to do this in the opening big story. Point one, Troy Stetcher and Scott Lawton both got their first goals of the season. Dakota Joshua added a goal and an assist, and the Toronto Maple Leafs topped the Florida Panthers 4-1 last night. I don't care about the Leafs, obviously. I see Bill writing in. He's trying to pick at a wound here, I guess. Bill in the Queen City. He says, hey, Rod, what was with the small crowd in Florida for the Panthers-Leafs game? Listen, I don't speak for the Florida Panthers. I don't know. I don't care. What does that tell you? What I will say is this. A few things on that. The Leafs aren't – you're a Leaf fan, Bill. How do you feel about the game? As far as the attendance goes, I guess that just says what? It's not just a CFL issue? I don't know. I don't like talking about CFL attendance, and I really don't care to talk about NHL attendance. Who cares? Number one. Number two, when this show is off the air today at 2 p.m. Eastern, shortly thereafter, I'll be doing the Cats and Bolts podcast in Florida, and I got my friend Nick Fairbanks coming on from the Locked On Panthers show to talk about the last place Florida Panthers, the very last place Florida Panthers. And I see my good friends in the Florida media, South Florida media, they're making a pretty big deal out of the fact that the Panthers are last place. And it is what it is. We'll be talking about it on that show. And I guess, Bill, maybe, we're live streaming that on YouTube if you want to join us for that. But I'm just sitting here praying that the Panthers stay relevant and good for a long time, which, by the way, they will. But if you're saying what's with the small crowd, I mean, I don't know. You're the first person to even bring that up to me because nobody in my circle cares. But what I do know is this. The second the Panthers become irrelevant or not at the top, the interest there is going to go because it's not like Canada. And it took me a long time to figure that out. I should have known because I spent so much time around the Coyotes in Arizona when my friend Gary Drummond was an owner with the team. And it was the same. It was worse there because the Coyotes were never good. But in Florida, I've been there long enough and I have a lot of close enough friends. They're like, your podcast is rocking. The Cats and Bolts podcast, because the Panthers are good. Like the second they suck. So all I'm sitting here saying is I sure hope these bad times aren't here to stay, and I don't think that they are. But what I see is the fans and the media are very quick to jump off the bandwagon, and that sucks. And the reason a lot of you that are here is you haven't jumped off my bandwagon. I haven't jumped off your bandwagon. I'm not a jumping off the bandwagon kind of guy, but that's very, very rare. And again, you've been watching this show long enough to know how great the Panthers have been to me. My God, I get a lump in my throat when I think about that. They sent me all the interviews from last night because I'm not there and to post on my stuff. And Sergei Bobrovsky said after the game, we all still believe in each other. It's still the same group that have won the last 2 Stanley Cups for the most part, except for this. And I will move on other than to say, they're not the same team without Matthew Tkachuk. They're not the same team without Alexander Barkov, and they haven't had either one all year. So I happened to flip on TSN Sports Center last night, and it wasn't that. I was at Boston Pizza for supper. That's where I saw it. And running across the ticker on the bottom of the screen was, what's a bigger shock, Panthers start or Leafs start? I'm like, who came up with that? The Panthers are missing Alexander Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk, two of the biggest key components to them winning 2 Stanley Cups. It's not a shock that the Panthers are struggling. Way bigger shock that the Toronto Maple Leafs, I guess, aren't in a playoff spot right now. But I picked the Leafs to win last night, and they did. By the way, 7 of 10 on the picks last night. Carlos in Indianapolis writes in, and he says, hey, we football people like talking football. I get it, bro, but you just got to wait your turn. Bill says, I think it was a game played between teams that have depleted lineups. Jason in Red Deer writes in, he says, bandwagon, shoot, I'm a Flames and Vegas Raiders fan. If I were a jumper, I'd have jumped long ago. LOS. Right, but that's why you're here, because you get me. And that's, good enough time to roll along to the second point of the Quick Six Show topics here. But I will tell you that we are brought to you in part in hour 1 by Pump Jack's Steakhouse and Saloon, Pump Jack's Cathedral, Pump Jack's Weyburn. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. That was just my first point. The Leafs-Panthers game and Carter Hart in Vegas. Second point are the other games. I'll just rip through them here. Nathan McKinnon scored 2 more goals, and Gabriel Landeskog had 2 assists, leading Colorado to a 3-1 victory over Vancouver. Jesper Wallstedt made 33 saves to record his 5th shutout of the season in just 10 games as the Minnesota Wild carry their torrid pace from last month into December, blanking the Oilers 1-0 last night. Reed Schaefer and Ozzy Weisblatt each scored their first NHL goals. UC Saros made 27 saves, and the Nashville Predators defeated the Calgary Flames 5-1. I have written in here, point 3, top 5, bottom 5, but I feel like I'm going to push that to at least later on this hour, maybe even hour 2. Because we've spent 20 minutes already talking on hockey alone. And while I'm here, let me just do a junior hockey report, which we do every day for our friends at the Mad Greek Eatery, where I think I'm going for supper Friday night. The Western Hockey League announced Utah Mammoth prospect and Kelowna Rockets forward Tidge Aginla has been named WHL Player of the Month for November. Aginla, a 19-year-old product of Lake Country, BC, recorded 23 points and a +9 in 13 games during the month of November for the 2026 Memorial Cup host Kelowna Rockets, who went 8-3-2. Mad Greek Eatery, stop in and see why they are everybody in Moose Jaw's favorite restaurant. That's why we're going there for supper on Friday night. And what did I say? We support the people that support us. And that includes me wearing this Overtime Hockey Lanes jacket today in beautiful LA Kings colors. Thank you, Randy and Michelle, for the gift. Okay. We'll come back to hockey. Point 4. Quinnen Williams disregards the notion that the standout defensive tackle's arrival in a trade is the best explanation for this dramatic turnaround by the Dallas Cowboys. Here's the reality. Dallas is 3-0 since giving the New York Jets a 2027 first-round pick, a second-rounder next year, and underperforming defensive tackle Mozzie Smith to acquire Quinnen Williams at the trade deadline. On top of that, the 6-5-1 Cowboys go into Thursday's game in Detroit, giving up 21.7 points per game, essentially a touchdown below their average before Quinnen Williams showed up, and 69 yards rushing per game. Dallas beat, I mentioned this yesterday, both of last season's Super Bowl teams back-to-back. First the Eagles 24-21, and then the Kansas City Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day. So are the Dallas Cowboys all that? So what did I say earlier? I have the ability, when it's just me and no co-host, to sit here and tell a few stories. So I could get into the real fun stuff if you want with my vehicle snafus that I've been dealing with this week. But let me just back this up. So Saturday night, I'm speaking in my hometown of Milestone, Saskatchewan. And frankly, the plaudits are still rolling in for what a tremendous night that was. Thank you, Corey Mace. Thank you, Lauren Mullican, and thanks those that sold out the event. But my high school chum and teammate on the provincial midget hockey championship team, for those that don't know, you, Carlos in Indianapolis, yeah, it's called midget, not anymore. We didn't have time to explain. So we were in the bathroom lined up, and he's like, how about those Cowboys? And his nickname is Ski. I said, well, Ski, what do we think? I said, I'm not a believer. And he goes, well, we've won 3 in a row. And I said, do you see the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl? He said, no. No, me either. But that's the opener of Week 14 in the NFL, Thursday night at Ford Field in Detroit, Cowboys at Lions. And thank God I got nothing else going on that night because I'll be riveted to the television. And so all I will say is it's the poll question today for EMJ Marketing Elite Speakers Bureau. You see we're getting back out on the public speaking circuit, and the EMJ roster includes Corey Mace, Stu Grimson, Jim Barker. It's a whole Rachel Holman. All the greats are with EMJ Marketing. Anyways, the poll question is, are the Dallas Cowboys going to the Super Bowl? And just so you know, on Twitter, 93% of respondents are saying no. And I get most of you aren't even fans of the Dallas Cowboys. They're not going to the Super Bowl. And it's also on our Instagram story, which I invite you to follow us at The Rod Pedersen Show on Instagram. I put the poll up there. It's not as overwhelmingly resounding as that, but it's like, I'm like 57%-ish. Last I checked are saying no. Both cases, they're saying no. They're not going to the Super Bowl. And we'll see how it goes. The point, I want to make this very clear, and I know there's a lot of Cowboys that watch this, Cowboys fans that watch this, like you, Dallas, from Hockey Canada, that get up me every time I rip on the Cowboys. They're good enough to win every game. As it is, they've played 12 games and they've won 6. I'm just, again, not allowing my feelings to be affected by this football team because playoff time, to quote, who the hell was it that said it? His nickname's Stink. Who's the NFL analyst, played in the NFL, his nickname is Stink. Mark Schlereth. Because they have a great regular season, and come playoff time, they always crap in their helmets. So I'm just kind of sitting here waiting for this. But I mentioned the breaking NFL news, and there is CFL news that I'll get to after the break. Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, two of the key pillars in the New England Patriots dynasty, were picked as finalists for the 2026 Pro Football Hall of Fame class today. Belichick was picked as the coaching candidate, and Kraft was picked as the contributor, and the results announced today. 3 seniors candidates also made the final stage, with Ken Anderson, Roger Craig, and L.C. Greenwood all advancing. So, I mean, this seems fairly obvious, almost a triviality, or if I'm using the right term, that Belichick and Kraft would be picked as finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But also, are we surprised? Belichick's still blackballed from the NFL. He ain't ever coaching the NFL again. And with Robert Kraft, there was a scandal attached to Robert Kraft, but I guess we opened the show talking about moving on from events we wished hadn't happened. Maybe the NFL is ready to do that too. So anyways, we're just getting into that. We'll be right back. You're watching across the Game Plus television network and various other platforms.
Are you ready? January 8th to 11th. It all goes down in Moose Jaw at the Yara Center. The Battle on the Prairies. NCAA rules. 25 elite teams. Alberta, Boston, Texas, Mexico, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. All under one roof. Come watch live. Tickets available right at the door. Pay-per-view will be available at ikslive.ca.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away, ultimatefanzone.ca, or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Okay, welcome back inside, everybody. As I say, when it's a Wednesday and it's just me, or when we have certain snafus like what happened on Tuesday, now's the time to get your comments in and read, because it's just me and we don't have another co-host sucking up all the talk time. But we're brought to you in part by Suds Full Service Car Wash. Fuel your fleet's finesse with Suds Regina's unbeatable cleaning packages. They'll shine like new every time. Visit sudsregina.com. From the text line, which is brought to you by Western Dodge, Randy writes in on that Oilers. Hang on a second. Yeah, he says, my 2 cents. Both the Oilers and Panthers are showing signs of uninspired hockey, possibly fatigue, being in the Stanley Cup final the last 2 years, plus injuries and goaltending, the obvious reasons. Signed, Randy in Strasbourg. I don't think people account for that. And that's fans and media. How about the guy standing behind the bench like it was 2 weeks ago? Because the Panthers have been in a slump for a while now. It isn't just injuries. You're right. When they decide to dig in and play really, really hard, the way that they have the last 2 years to win Stanley Cups, they win. I've seen it with my own eyes. But they're not always playing like that. And so with that Panthers podcast, I was telling you that I host, I had Bill Lindsay in studio with me. Panthers great. And he's related it on the air that he was talking to Paul Maurice, and even Paul Maurice said he himself had to back off a bit on these guys because he was pushing. We've all seen the clips of the way Maurice coached that team in the Stanley Cup playoffs, driving them to the edge. He was doing it in October. And credit to Paul Maurice, and if you know him, and now I do, it wouldn't surprise you, where he looked at himself and said, wait, I'm being too hard on these guys, physically pushing them. That's the Panthers thing. As far as the Oilers go, I didn't watch that game last night. I am far from any Oilers aficionado. Maybe it is fatigue for them. I don't know. But I will say neither team's in a playoff spot right now. That shouldn't necessarily cause anybody to panic because there is a hell of a lot of hockey left. And again, I'll be talking more about it 3:30 Eastern live. We'll be streaming the Cats and Bolts podcast if you care enough as we talk about the Panthers and the Lightning. Chad writes in from Lethbridge on the text line 902-518-3033. He says, check in from Lethbridge, headed to the Dome tomorrow night to see the smoking hot Wild take on the Flames. Enjoy, Chad. I don't feel like anybody in Calgary or Flames Nation even wants to talk about the Flames right now. They got motorboated last night in Nashville in a battle of the worst two teams in the NHL. So Jeff in Toronto writes in, he says, South Florida can't even sell out college football. There are other things to do. That's the point, Jeff in Toronto. Thank you for clarifying something. I lived there and I didn't say it as well as you just did. You need to win consistently in South Florida or the people just won't show up. It's not a anti-hockey thing. I've been there long enough to know now. But I talked to the old-time guys like Lindsay or Jeff Rimmer, who was the voice of the Panthers back in 96 when they went to the Stanley Cup final. They're like, nobody knew anything about hockey back then. They sold out every game because they were winning. Now they know hockey. They know it. They're not buying tickets if they're not winning. They'll go do something else, as you just said. Now, the Miami Hurricanes are going to make the college football playoff. So the Hurricanes largely sell out, but depending on the opponent and the day of the week. But you're right. In Florida, there's just way too much to do, which, frankly, in the other places, I'll just say it about Saskatchewan here, where I live, when the Rough Riders aren't selling out, there is nothing else to do. Okay, so when they don't sell out, that's a really big problem, but it's not my problem. And Jeff goes on to say, the U even has empty seats, even when they are rolling in the Orange Bowl. They do, but they've had sellouts this year, but you're not wrong. Okay, let me get the other points out, and actually you will appreciate this, Jeff, because I thought of you when I put them in. Not this part with the NBA. Scotty Barnes scored 28 points as the Raptors held off the Portland Trailblazers 121-118 last night. Barnes also had 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 blocks. Emmanuel quickly added 23 points with 8 assists for Toronto as they snapped their modest 2-game losing skid. I put this in for point 6 because point 6 of the Quick 6 show topics is always randoms. For me, what's more random than this? The Vancouver Whitecaps are holding a watch party for the MLS Cup at BC Place. Vancouver takes on Lionel Messi and Inter Miami in Major League Soccer's championship game on Saturday in Florida. The Whitecaps also held a watch party for last week's Western Conference final where Vancouver bested expansion side San Diego FC 3-1 to advance. I don't even know what that means. But is this a one-game championship? I don't even know, and I'm not ashamed that I don't know. Jeff, you're new to this show, but the viewers that aren't know that 5 years ago when I went to Florida, planted my flag and took up stakes, I was taking in everything. I was going to sporting events every night, high level, and I'm like, I can't keep doing this. It's wearing me out. So I backed off the MLS thing, but what I will tell you is that I followed it enough. I don't know if it's a one-game best of 3 or what the hell it is. Sounds like it's a one-game championship. Whatever. It makes sense for me. But with Messi, I'm surprised that he has stayed in Inter Miami for so long, other than he's making, I think, $27 million US a year. That would help. But this league is so easy for him. And what does it say? It reminds me of that Saturday night, which I haven't finished my stories yet from being in my hometown speaking, but they were talking about Keith Ollie, former Oilers defenseman, Tampa Bay Lightning and defenseman playing senior hockey for Rolo, and they said he's 6'6", a star, and he just owns the games in senior hockey because he played in the National Hockey League. We've all seen it. It's like Lionel Messi just owns MLA, scoring like 2-3 goals a game. I've seen it. His face is everywhere in South Florida. Billboards. He's got an endorsement deal with Hard Rock Casino. The point was, I was there before Messi showed up. And they just wrote a check, signed him, all of a sudden, boom, they're the hottest thing in there. They were terrible. They were drawing 7,000 fans a game. What did I tell you about South Florida sports fans? It's different than any other market I've ever seen. People say they're fickle. That's one way of saying it. But again, Jeff, you said, do we ever talk soccer on this show? This is the extent that I will, because there's just so much other things going on to talk about that I don't really follow soccer. But when it gets to be the league final, and it's Vancouver versus Miami, and by the way, look at a map. Talk about the travel. You think Fort Lauderdale, where the Panthers fly out of, to Edmonton was a lot, which it was a lot. Vancouver to Fort Lauderdale where they play. That's wild. And you know what? Maybe I would watch this game, but I'm not going to be watching this game because I'm speaking. That's why I'm back up here in Canada, speaking at a couple of sports banquets here around the province and doing my show in between, which I'll have to stop for a second and think about what my other points were coming off of that. And it's a good time to refresh the text line, 902-518-3033. But I told you these hours on Wednesday when it's just me, they go fast, and they're a hell of a lot of fun. And if you want to reach me, this is the way to do it, especially Wednesdays in hour one. Vancouver Eric writes in and he says, which hockey team is in more trouble, the Canucks or Flames? Hold that thought. Scott in Vancouver says one of the problems is the MLS games have been on Apple instead of TSN, but this final will actually be on TSN. Well, I would hope so. It's the league final. But I mean, as they say, if you want to find it, you'll find it. You've all found this show today because you all want to be part of it and you love, what we do. So again, if you really want to watch MLS, I get that whole idea of being where the people are for sure. But at least you don't have to pay for this like you have to pay for Apple. Oh, yeah, I know what it was. Well, we have less than a minute till a break, so I'll talk about my vehicle snafus that I've been dealing with this week. Because people do like the personal stories. I guess we didn't get to the CFL news yet, but how do you keep a monkey in suspense? We'll tell you after the break. Sports update coming up. And viewer takeover the rest of the way. And Bob Marjanovich, the voice of the BC Lions. I didn't even get to my mode stories. I got to put those in here too. I got to make a note of that. From Super Bowl a couple of years ago in L.A. Yeah, we don't have time to get into them here, but we will after this brief pause. You're watching the RP Show live across Canada on Game Plus TV in 32 U.S. states, YouTube Live, podcast, and Mission Radio.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away, ultimatefanzone.ca, or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's throw this in. Hour one is brought to you in part by CoolBet. Claim your welcome bet bonus up to $200 with the promo code RP200 at coolbet.com. Canadian viewers only. Let me jump into the sports update and get that off our chest, and then viewer takeover the rest of the way. We've been talking about the Lane Kiffin story all week, and trust me, as we plow forth into December and January, there'll be a lot of college football talk here. Ole Miss lost their coach, but moved up a spot anyway, and Notre Dame didn't lose a thing, but the Irish fell. Talking about the release Tuesday of the latest college football playoff rankings, producing its fair share of eye-openers and head-scratchers. Plenty to talk about before the final rankings and the actual pairings for the 12-team playoff come out this weekend after a slate of conference title games. I just got shivers thinking about it. Undefeated Ohio State and Indiana remain 1-2 in the rankings. Georgia moved to third. Texas Tech rose to number 4. The rest of the top 12, Oregon, Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's old team, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama, Notre Dame, BYU, and Miami. Again, the college football playoff pairings come out on Sunday. Mentioned this earlier. I'll mention it again. Breaking news from the NFL. Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft were picked as finalists for the 2026 Pro Football Hall of Fame class today. Belichick was picked as the coaching candidate. Kraft was picked as the contributor in results announced today. I'll say this again in a variety of ways. I have to applaud sport. As much as I said Lane Kiffin is everything that's wrong with college football. Walking out on your team in the middle of the season. I mean, come on. But with the NHL reinstating Carter Hart, the Vegas Golden Knights signing him, and then, frankly, a good news story, him winning last night. And then the NFL welcoming back Bill Belichick, or at least the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I mean, he hasn't been voted in yet, but come on. 6 Super Bowls as a head coach. Robert Kraft, same thing. And then look what they're doing now, his Patriots. There's something Robert Kraft is doing. In both cases, there's stains on those guys' names. And I think the good news is what we're seeing, thank God, with these leagues and pro sports is that the stains don't last forever. For some people. There are still some other people that are dealing with being ostracized from the leagues and never being welcomed back in. So it's not everybody, but I don't know. Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, they are at another level. And you want to talk about, I'm not talking about a Hall of Fame snubs, and I'm not going to get into the guys that are barred from the leagues forever. But I guess it's a case-by-case scenario, and Belichick and I like to see second chances. I like to see people move on, and it looks like everybody's moved on here. And of all the things we've talked about here today, and it's been a lot, this didn't grab with anybody. It's like, yeah, they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Put them in. I believe if you are a sports fan of any level, you're aware of the transgressions of which I speak. Why Bill Belichick's blackballed from the NFL? I don't really know why. I mean, I could find out in about 2 seconds if I wanted. I don't know why. Kraft, I know why he got in trouble. They're both going to the Hall of Fame, and that's the good news. And then, this was news yesterday, but Mike Miller's coaching career of almost 20 years has taken him all over North America and even to Europe. But he's never been a head coach. Until now, the CFL's Toronto Argonauts announced that Mike Miller, is the Argos' new head coach, replacing Ryan Dinwiddie. Miller spent the previous 4 seasons as Toronto's quarterbacks coach. I'll just tell you, the sports update is brought to you by Ultimate Fan Zone Sports Store right here in Moose Jaw. Get your game day gear in store or online at ultimatefanzone.ca. And I will say it again, we very, very, very greatly appreciate our sponsors, and I hope that you will too and support them. Ultimate Fan Zone has the best apparel, fully licensed, NHL, NFL, MLB, CFL, you name it. Stop in and check them out downtown Moose Jaw. Mark in Melfort writes in, he says, hey, Rod, are you going to tell us how you keep a monkey in suspense? You said you would tell us after the commercial break. I got you, Mark. I just want to tell you that, like, I know everybody loves the stories. That's what sets this show apart. Every other show's got the jackals, jack wagons sitting there talking sports. How would this be any different? Well, are they talking about this? I have a vehicle that I leave in Canada that has an X-rated nickname that I can't repeat on the air. I did say it for a while on the air, and then I kind of can't say that. Oh, damn, okay. But it's a minivan, and it's got some miles on it. Oh, hang on a sec. I just found out my laptop needs to be plugged in. I forgot. Sitting here running on a battery. If you lose me, Corey, hang on. So anyways, I take this vehicle down. I think we're good. I take this vehicle down to the banquet, and we good. Plugged it in. Realest show on TV, right, Core? I take it down to the banquet. As I'm driving down the Sioux line, Highway 39. Get there. But then as I come out, it was cold enough. I want to say about minus 15 Celsius. The thing won't start. So Lorne Mulliken, the former head coach of the Chicago Blackhawks, he's walking out same time as me. 2 sober guys, not drinking, not partaking with the hijinks that's going on inside. I said, Mooner, would you mind giving me a boost? He said, no problem. Rolls up his brand new big Dodge truck. And he goes, I got this from Prairie Hockey Academy. They gave it to me. No, it's not Big Bird. I sold Big Bird. Big Bird was my 1975 antique Jeep. I wasn't driving that in minus 15 down Highway 39. I can't tell you the nickname. That's the whole point. We might lose our broadcast license. So anyways, Mooner gives me a boost. It's running. No problem. And I go back inside. I'm going to let it run for a while. It's Canada after all, and it's winter. I go back out. It's dead. I'm like, oh, my God. So who rolls up next? Neil Newfield from Young's Equipment, Weyburn. I'm like, Neil, would you mind giving me a boost? He's like, yeah, sure. Rolls up in his big Dodge truck, ironically enough, from Young's Equipment. Flip the hood. He goes, you might want to upgrade. I'm like, I know, Neil, but I only live in Canada 3 months out of the year, and I'm only up for a week. So sorry, guys. So sorry, guys. We're back. You got us? Okay. I'm not sure how long we were gone. It was, I'll tell you in the break, but we're good. I'm just going far too long on this story. Eric says it was a story never to be told. No, it's back. We're good. The mechanic shows up. I'm not sure what you missed. Mechanic shows up with a ball peen hammer, pulls it out, starts whacking the bottom of the engine. I'm like, what are you doing with that? He goes, oh, it's the starter. It gets jammed up, and you just give it a couple of whacks with a ball peen hammer, and it works. I'm like, oh, my God. Okay. And end up getting it going, rolling it into Canadian Tire. Brent says it looks like Rod froze up like his vehicle. It wasn't that. It was the dang battery. But Canadian Tire, they're like, I said, oh, it's the starter. And he says, the guy says, do you know it's the starter? I said, well, that's what I'm told. Well, it wasn't. It was a battery. So, anyways, hey, Allie from Texarkana. She just checks in. Happy Wednesday, RP and squad. You just heard a very long story of my vehicle snafus. And anyways, I got a rental for the week, but we got the vehicle out of Canadian Tire. It's running like a top again. And as I said to Joe 747 Gunnis, my longtime manager here in Moose Jaw, I said, I just can't bring myself to part with this thing. I've had it through so many ups and downs over the last several years. I've put so many miles on it, and it's been good to me. I remember showing it to my brother when I bought it like 4 years ago. I had a mattress that I bought at Cabela's rolled up in the back. He's like, are you sleeping in this? I'm like, no, but I could. That's the point. To this day, I haven't. But anyways, what else do we have here? Somebody wrote in, says, Jeff in Toronto says, the Raptors are red hot. I've mentioned that. They beat Portland last night, avoiding a third consecutive loss. So, oh yeah, Jeff the Stamps fan says, AMA will do a new battery roadside for $199. It was just not a great thing because, as Mooner said to me, he was like, you and travel don't do too good. Remember last year I came up here and the rental car I had booked disappeared? So I had to rent a U-Haul truck, drive it to my event. That happened. Okay. Your questions will have to carry over until next hour, everybody. Stick through this break. We'll be right back after this brief pause. 902-518-3033. Get your text. That's got all the comments coming in from everybody. The personal stories, I'm telling you. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television after this.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy,
through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
How about that?
Away we go. Choo-choo. The train is leaving the station. The RP Show is on the air. Episode number 1631 of your favorite sports talk show. Again, I know that because you're here broadcasting across Nevada on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network and on Game Plus TV where it's hour 2. We got a hot one going. We got a hot one, Barney, going today on Game Plus TV. And it'll just roll along here on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. I will tell you that our guest this hour is Bob Marjanovich. And I know he'll be joining us, the voice of the Lions, coming up in the next segment. So get ready for that, fans of the Lions. The text line is open, and it's been busy, 902-518-3033. I've been telling stories, and in a second, I'll let you in on what it's been. Laverne's watching in the Frontier City. Before I get down to business here and get serious, he says, hey, RP, I wanted to mention when you tell a story without letting the facts get in the way. That's what I really like. No. You got it wrong, Laverne. All of my stories are true. They're very hard to believe. That's why you wouldn't think that they're not factual, but they're factual. Just very hard to believe. And there's people writing in with requests of stories. Joe in Brandon, just hang on. I'll oblige you. But we don't have a lot of time in this opening segment. So as we go with the quick 6 show topics, I've rejigged them a little bit from hour 1 for the benefit of the Nevada audience and the rest. Number 1, the big story is the same in both countries. As far as I'm concerned, Carter Hart made 27 saves in his first NHL appearance in nearly 2 years, backstopping the Vegas Golden Knights to a 4-3 shootout victory over the Chicago Blackhawks on Tuesday. Carter Hart was one of 5 former Team Canada World Junior Hockey players acquitted of sexual assault in July, with starter Aiden Hill injured. Vegas coach Bruce Cassidy says Carter Hart will see regular action for the Golden Knights. So I've read a different story here in hour 2, but it's the same story. And I want to relate again. I think that's why, why God has put me on this platform hosting this show, but given all the life experience that I've had, and now the certification and paperwork to go along with it as a certified recovery coach, mental health, addiction recovery, grief, stress, trauma, soup to nuts. Why am I bringing this all up? The story with Carter Hart is still affecting a lot of people, triggering a lot of people. But as you're seeing, the Golden Knights and Carter Hart are moving on. The National Hockey League is moving on. And I will just say this. I mean, I can talk about this without wading into too far of deep water because I can handle it. And I will say this. When I'm home in Florida, which I will be come Sunday night, God willing, when I'm in the press box in Sunrise or in Tampa Bay at the newly named Benchmark Life Arena, something like that, I've brought up this Team Canada story and the sexual assault case, and the guys in the NHL, in the media, they're like, I get it. Nobody wants to talk about it. But here we have the ability to talk about it. And the point in the whole thing is that he was acquitted. He's been cleared to play by the NHL. And people seem surprised that Bruce Cassidy would say Carter Hart will see regular action for the Golden Knights. Did I just say he wins? That's why he's there. Okay? And speaking of getting triggered, but I saw I'm not going to mention the media outlets across Las Vegas that said, we've interviewed sexual abuse victims and survivors with their thoughts on Carter. I'm like, why? Why are you triggered by this? Because they were acquitted. This is not Michael Vick. I mentioned this on the show yesterday before we ran into some of the technical problems, but Michael Vick was charged, convicted, served jail time, came out and played again in the National Football League. We know that his crime wasn't what these hockey players were accused of, but these guys were acquitted. I guess the whole point is the Golden Knights and Carter Hart and the NHL have moved on. People that are triggered by this and are upset, they're going to need to move on as well, and they're going to need help moving on with professionals. And by the way, in that other career of mine, I deal with sexual abuse victims and survivors all the time. I spoke with one this morning at length on the phone. Nothing about this, but about other stuff. So that's all. We are in a time that's different whereby everybody has a voice, and that's a good thing. But those that are triggered on behalf of others aren't helping any matters here. That's all. So that's my thoughts on that. That's just point one. 1A. 1B is another pretty much talked about hockey game that went on in Sunrise, Florida last night, my home. Troy Stetcher and Scott Lawton both got their first goals of the season. Dakota Joshua added a goal and an assist, and the Toronto Maple Leafs topped the Florida Panthers 4-1 last night. You can imagine they're making a huge deal out of this in Florida that the Panthers are dead last in the Eastern Conference. And it's kind of, I don't mind, obviously, sitting here and talking about all kinds of topics. Doesn't bother me. When you deal in that other field of society, of the world, talking sports ain't much. It ain't hard. So people were writing in here earlier saying, what about all the empty seats there? Leaf fans were writing in saying, what about all the empty seats in Sunrise? What about them? I didn't even notice any empty seats, but I'm focused on the ice. What's going on the ice? But what I will tell you about South Florida, I don't know enough about the Vegas sports market, but we're learning. For instance, we've learned that the Phoenix Suns are your NBA team, so we'll put a little more emphasis on that. But in South Florida, if you're not winning, the fans aren't going. So for anybody to say that, they don't know anything about the NHL, no, they know. They're very aware that they've had a hockey team there for 30-plus years, but they're dead last right now, and people are not going to go. So for those of us that do work in the media in South Florida, it's just – and – our bread is buttered by the NHL. It's not good that the Panthers aren't winning, is my point, as I try and land the plane here. But again, Sergei Bobrovsky comes out after the game because the Panthers give me all their interviews when I'm not there to run on my channels. And Bob's like, we still believe in each other. I'm like, well, that wouldn't be a surprise to me. They've been to 3 straight Stanley Cups together. Of course they believe in each other. But I saw, as I was out for supper last night with some friends, scrolling across the bottom of the TV screen, what's the bigger shock? The Leafs' poor start or the Panthers' poor start? And I'm like, how is that even a question? The Florida Panthers are missing the heart and soul of their team, Captain Alexander Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk, the biggest pest in the league. It's not hard to figure out why the Panthers are struggling. The Leafs, that is a different story. And the fans are getting a little ahead of themselves, but that's okay for the fans. Fans, viewers, whatever. I guess maybe I'll jump around because in my show topics, I had the Dallas Cowboys in here. Maybe I'll throw that out for point 2. Quinnen Williams, he is disregarding the notion that he's the reason, the recently acquired defensive tackle for the Dallas Cowboys, that he's the reason they're 3-0 since he showed up in the trade with the New York Jets. But the reality is Dallas is 3-0 since giving the Jets a 2027 first rounder, a second rounder next year, and I'll say underperforming defensive tackle Maisie Smith to acquire Quinnen Williams at the trade deadline. I think it's a coincidence too, but the Cowboys will open Week 14 Thursday night at Detroit. Cowboys 6-5-1. Tell me if I'm wrong, viewers. And we do have a lot of Cowboys fans that watch this show. I think that if the team that wins that game Thursday night at Ford Field will have a shot at making the playoffs. The team that loses that game is done. Because we're getting down to the nitty-grit right now. Cowboys have 6 wins. Look at the teams. There's teams in wild card positions or just out of wild card spots that have 7 wins. As it is. The Cowboys got to win to have a shot at the playoffs. And as I had a friend Saturday night as I was speaking at the sports bank, which is, he said, what about our Cowboys? They've won 3 in a row. I said, do you believe they're going to the Super Bowl? He said, no. That's the poll question today for EMJ Marketing. Do you believe the Dallas Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl? The last I looked, which it's been an hour, but 93% of respondents are saying no. But it's just the hype is unbelievable. The hype around the Dallas Cowboys, it's kind of hard to take, even as a fan. Oh, by the way, if you are watching on YouTube, we invite you to like. The guys are watching saying, if you like it, it helps the stream. I don't understand necessarily how that all works, but just like it, share, and subscribe. But there's breaking news out of the NFL, breaking when it dropped in the morning. Let me go back and find it. It has to do with, I can do it off the top of my head. Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft have been named finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That news came down on Wednesday morning from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And as I was saying earlier, Bill Belichick, for whatever reason that I don't know and don't really feel like I want to get into, has been blackballed from the NFL. I think I know why. He's a hard ass and people don't like him. It's usually how it goes. Robert Kraft, Google it. The Pro Football Hall of Fame and clearly the NFL are ready to move on from those transgressions of the owner. And then for whatever reason, Bill Belichick has been blackballed from the NFL. And the point is, it's a little heartwarming to me as a guy who's been the benefactor of second, third, fourth, and fifth chances that leagues are still willing to do that and not punishing these guys forever. And the same thing with Carter Hart. As I mentioned last hour, there are people that have not been afforded those benefits yet in these leagues, so it's not an across-the-board thing, but at least there's hope for them. And while we have time in this segment, I didn't do it last hour, and I meant to, the top 5, bottom 5 of the National Hockey League, because we do it every Wednesday. And I'll tell you that some things have gone on in the NHL this year that we didn't expect, and that's what makes it fun. And they're not the only league. The NFL is cuckoo as well. As we talked about yesterday, please try and find a Super Bowl matchup or pick one. When we did it yesterday, it was most people said the LA Rams are going to be in the Super Bowl. Nobody was predicting that going into the year. And I got to get to the Bob Marjanovich stories before we break. I'll tell you how good of a guy he is, our next guest coming up, the voice of the Lions. But here's your top 5, bottom 5 of the NHL from the Rod Pedersen Show. Number 1, the Colorado Avalanche. Ain't nobody going to argue that. They are rolling, probably all the way to the Stanley Cup final. But right now, they're number 1, and it ain't close. Number 2, the Dallas Stars. They have the best road record in the NHL, and just so you know, that's hard to do. Number 3, the Minnesota Wild. They showed the Oilers why last night, and they are currently the hottest team in the NHL by a mile, 12-1-1 in their last 14 games. Number 4, I got to say the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they're doing it with smoke and mirrors, with a lot of injuries, including their captain, Victor Hedman, who's still going to be out for a while. They just had a 7-game win streak snap last night at the Islanders. And number 5, Carolina Hurricanes, continuing to just wade in the weeds. Nobody ever talks about Carolina, and maybe this will be the year. Bottom 5 is this. Number 28, the Chicago Blackhawks. Sorry, I'm still not sold, and they've only won 3 of their last 10 games. Number 29, the Buffalo Sabres. They're still Buffalo. Don't be fooled by their current 2-game losing streak. Number 30, the Vancouver Canucks. No Hart. They remind me of the lion in The Wizard of Oz. I hope that changes. And I want to talk to Bob Marjanovich about that when he joins us next. Legendary Vancouver sportscaster and the voice of the Lions. Number 31 is the Nashville Predators. This is just picking the better of a bad lot because Nashville spanked Calgary last night in the toilet bowl, and we got the Flames at number 32. Don't shoot the messenger. There's your top 5, bottom 5. Brought to you, by the way, by the Ultimate Fan Zone, who is observing or using new Christmas hours. Check out their social media feeds, Ultimate Fan Zone, for Christmas shopping for the sports fan in your life. So Bob Marjanovich coming up next. I'll say this. He is a veteran of Super Bowl many. And maybe we'll get into some of those stories when he joins us next. But my first Super Bowl was Los Angeles. I want to say it was Super Bowl 56. And so I went to a party, Mike Ditka and Ron Jaworski's party. It was amazing, but I didn't know anybody there. I'm a newbie to this. Mo just been at all the Super Bowls, knows everybody. And he's walking me around this Super Bowl party in Los Angeles, introducing me to everybody like I'm Marv Albert. And I'm like, who the hell am I? And it was a Super Bowl party. It was Mike Ditka's Super Bowl party. And I'm like, Mo, you don't need to do this. Oh, come on, Rod, you need to meet these guys. I mean, off the top of my, like, Chris Carter I knew, but Jim McMahon, Solomon Wilcots, Jaws himself, Ron Jaworski, the Eagles legend and host, or at one time panelist of Monday Night Football and Sunday NFL Countdown. I mean, how about the who's who? And Moj knew them all as he's chomping on his big cigar. I never forgot that. I think I've thanked him like 3 or 4 times since. I'm like, Moj, you didn't need to do that. You didn't need to be that nice. But that's just the kind of guy that he is. Didn't go to those subsequent parties and Super Bowls afterwards for a variety of reasons. But that was my first one, and Moj made it awesome. There's very, very expensive. That is a fact. Okay, we got Moj in next. He's locked up and ready to go. We're across Nevada on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network, so we will maybe get to the Raiders with Moj. And, of course, across Canada and 32 U.S. states, including the beautiful province of British Columbia, right here on Game Plus Television, YouTube Live, podcast, and Mission Radio.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
The RP Show continues, everybody, on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network across Nevada and Game Plus TV across Canada and 32 U.S. states. It's our distinct honor to welcome to the program Bob Marjanovich. We only got 20 minutes, and we got a lot of topics to get to with the Moj, and the man can talk. That's why he's a broadcaster. How you doing, Moj?
Good, big fella. I'm kind of losing it this week because I live in a condo unit. Well, a tower. There's 3 towers in our complex here, and they are doing renovations. They're doing the enveloping on the building, so they're basically taking all the concrete off the building. They're redoing all the insulation, everything. Basically, a new wall on the outside, a new exterior. So 3 buildings in our complex. You know me, Rod. A lot of times we're on the road. It's either here or there with the Lions, training camp, vacations, Super Bowl, you name it. Guess which building they start on? Guess which floor they're starting on? Yeah, double check, me. So basically, I'm losing my mind this week hearing drills and banging going on the entire week.
Well, it won't last forever, Moj. It won't last forever. And I'm guessing that you are indeed in downtown Vancouver. Am I right in saying that?
Burnaby.
Oh, you're in Burnaby? Okay. Well,
yeah.
We should start with this, if you don't mind. I'll start with the bad, then we'll get gradually better. The Canucks. I saw them when they came through Sunrise and lost 8-5, and I'm like, this team is emotionless. I haven't seen a team play with less heart in a very long time. Did I misread that?
A little bit. I think this team has shown resilience at certain parts of the season, and they have battled. But I'll say this. You know as well as I do, Rod, you can only keep trying without getting results for an extended period of time, because after a while it's not encouraging when you're putting in the effort and not getting the results. So that kind of concerns me with this team moving forward. I think the other thing too, when I look at the Canucks this year is, and a lot of people have talked about this, they don't really have an identity, right? And that's something that I think is concerning, is that they just haven't established an identity under Adam Foote. Are they a hard checking team? Are they difficult to play against? Are they a team that's stout defensively? Like, they just don't have an identity, and I think they're still trying to find one.
Well, it certainly isn't going to happen overnight, but I know that's a very, very impatient fan base like the rest. Now, moving on to more fun things. I was saying before the break, you are a huge NFL guy. You have been for a very long time. Broadcast from many Super Bowls. You're an NFL guy. Can I ask you, who was your Super Bowl pick before the season, if you had one? And it held. Okay, clearly not.
No, the Buffalo Bills. I don't know what's going on with the Bills, but they're the team that I just kind of look at and I always shake my head. And it's so funny. I heard somebody talking about this the other day. Could you imagine
if the Patriots get to the Super Bowl this year, or make a longer run than the Bills, because the Patriots hit rock bottom after Belichick left. They had all this turmoil. They couldn't find out what they're going to do, and they finally get Mike Vrabel back there in New England. And you talk about a character and a good dude. So Vrabel gets back there, and he's got this thing turned around. And you imagine if they bypass the Bills and leave the Bills in their wake? Man, it's just, I don't know what it is with Buffalo. I'll tell you, the team that everybody's excited about here locally is the Seahawks, right? I mean, they're playing great. They got a great defense. They have the ability to run the ball. Jackson Smith and the Jigba, of course, is a weapon on offense. I think if Sam Darnold can kind of limit his mistakes and, just play, I don't want to say manage the game. You need more than a manager. But if he can just play a clean game, I love the Hawks' chances in any game.
Well, it's like you would feel like you shouldn't be able to just plug in a quarterback and in year one do what Sam Darnold's done. But it's amazing what he's done, and that whole team. Yeah,
and Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, has a lot to do with that, in the sense that, they've kind of brought in this new system. So, or pardon me, the new coordinator that they brought in, and I'm trying to remember his name now, it's escaping me. But anyway, it's a situation where this is an offense that it's not as static as it was before. And it's, they're using play action a lot more. They're running the football. They kind of keep defenses guessing, right? So that's one of the things that, the Seahawks are doing this year offensively. So like I said, I really like this team's chances, especially, hey, defense wins championships, and their defense, I think, is a pretty good one, especially against the run. I mean, they're amazing against the run.
Like I say, we have a lot to go over with you. It's going to be rapid fire. Darcy in Grand Prairie wrote in about Dylan Cease being officially signed by the Toronto Blue Jays. He writes in on the Western Dodge text line. He says, how about those Blue Jays flexing their financial muscle? Bo is the next signing, I hope. I'm fascinated to know, in the run for the Jays, who were you pulling for, and who were the West Coasters and the Lower Mainland pulling for in the ALCS and the World Series?
There are a lot of Blue Jay fans here, make no mistake. I'd probably say 75% Blue Jays, maybe 25% Mariners, but there is a very loyal fan base to the Mariners. It's a little older fan base, and I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people grew up watching the Mariners on KSTW, like, people of the 40 to 60 vintage. So a lot of people rooted for the Mariners in this series because they kind of grew up. The other thing, too, is they go down to Mariner games, right? And somebody asked me, why are you rooting for the Mariners instead of the Jays? The Jays are Canada's team. Pardon me, it says freaking Toronto on their jersey. It doesn't say Canada, it says Toronto. So all this Canada's team stuff that gets shoved down our throat, throw that away, please. It makes me, if you want to root for Toronto, great, but don't use this, try to force it down your throat saying it's Canada's team. But anyway, getting back to the Blue Jays, somebody says, so why are you rooting for the Blue Jays? Well, let me figure this out. We used to go to the Blue Jay games, the Mariner games in Seattle all the time. We did broadcasts from Seattle. I go down to spring training. We've been down to spring training in Peoria. Watch the Mariners down there. We've had Mariners come in through our studios doing the caravan tour of the offseason. Yeah, so maybe I'm a little closer to the Mariners, seeing how I can actually go to a Mariner game rather than having the Blue Jays 8,000 miles away.
You had me at age 40 to 60 is the older crowd. Is that what we are, Moj?
Yeah.
We're the older crowd?
We're the older crowd, right? And like I said, here in Vancouver, a lot of the Blue Jay fans that grew up watching the Blue Jays, I remember guys like Julio Cruz, Harold Reynolds, Alvin Davis, right? So you kind of go back to that era, right? It's not even the Brett Boone, Olerud, Suzuki area. We're talking even prior to that. But, in the last, 10, 15 years, Rogers Sportsnet has blacked out the Mariner games in the market. And it's, Blue Jays, Blue Jays, Blue Jays, Blue Jays in 90, Blue Jays in 60, Blue Jays in 20, Blue Jays in 10. Bleh on the Blue Jays.
I feel like I triggered you a little bit. So should I bother asking who you cheered for in the World
brother.
Series?
You have triggered me.
I feel like I know who you cheered for in the World Series.
Dodgers, of course. Hey, here's a little thing, too, a little funny thing that I'll tell you. I've never mentioned this publicly, but I'm going to here. So I was doing a hit on the local Sportsnet station in the mornings with Halford and Bruff, right? And I was doing a hit with these guys. Every week we do a hit. I put out 3 rather interesting tweets about, I never even mentioned Rogers Sportsnet by name. I just kind of said, I said one of the tweets was their announcers don't need microphones, they need bibs. Another one was, I'm surprised, Herb Zurkowski from the Gazette had tweeted out, I'm surprised they're not crying on the set. And I said, I'm surprised they don't have Kleenex. And then I took a run at whatever his name was, Caleb Joseph, but the guy that came on and said, I don't give a blank. The Blue Jays were the better team, and I took a run at that. Well, I get a text from, well, basically, make a long story short, I'm no longer a regular on Sportsnet on Fridays doing a hit with Halford and Bruff. So they, quote, went into a different direction because of, hey, those 3 tweets with my massive following of 4,000 Twitter followers. I'm just like, it was somebody in Toronto. All I know is it wasn't local, but somebody in Toronto saw those tweets and said, yeah, you're not going to be you're not going to get paid by us. So anyway.
They're doing the construction. I heard it. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. Too bad they didn't hit it when you dropped the F-bomb, but that's okay. That's okay. Give the man a follow, Bob Marjanovich on Twitter, everybody. Help the guy out. Now, listen, if I got you rolling on Super Bowl stories, we would literally fall out of time or run out of time. So let me just get in touchdown Kelowna first, and then we'll roll to some Super Bowl stories, okay? It looked like you were out there for the announcement last week.
No, I wasn't. I was in Vancouver, but
okay.
Yeah, it's been very exciting. From what I understand, everybody in Kelowna is jacked up about this. They are super excited, and this, from talking to people within the Lions organization, this week is going to be more. You know how they had Touchdown Pacific, they had Touchdown Atlantic. This is going to be more of a Grey Cup type festival. The city's getting involved. The city's super excited. I know I'm excited because I used to host a golf tournament in Kelowna for many years called the Moat Shootout. We ceased operations a couple of years ago. The first year after COVID, we had the tournament, and then after that, we kind of ceased operations because of all the how would we put it, things that we had to comply to because of liquor inspectors being extremely vigilant. So, make a long story short, we're going to be in compliance with a lot of things that we have to do. So, I got the golf tournament back on board, so I'm super excited about it. That'll be part of the festivity in the week. During the week, I should say. So, yeah, everybody's jacked up about Kelowna. It's going to be a great week. And if you've been there in the summer, and I'm sure you have, Rod, it's a beautiful place to be. I mean, boating, golfing, sunshine, you name it.
It's a jewel. I couldn't even compare it to anything. It's something else. So for those that don't know, the Nevada viewers, the Canadian Football League's BC Lions are displaced out of BC Place because of the FIFA World Cup. Couple of soccer games coming in there. So the Lions are going to go play in Kelowna. It's against Calgary and who?
Calgary and Edmonton, right? So,
okay,
again, smart thinking by the Canadian Football League in the sense that you're going to get people from Calgary coming to Kelowna. You're going to get people from Edmonton coming to Kelowna. So it's going to be an extremely hot ticket. I know that they're really trying to get to, say, something between 17 and 20. I don't know if you've ever been to the Apple Bowl, but it's just basically a grandstand, an old school grandstand with maybe that can hold 3,000. So everything there is basically going to be bleachers, like temporary seating facilities, but it can be done. And the Lions and the city, I guess, are working to get that done and hopefully get somewhere at least around 17, maybe even 20.
There's Moj's take on Touchdown Kelowna. Now to the real fun stuff, the Super Bowl. You showed me firsthand that you're a big deal around there. And because we're on the air in Nevada every day, where does the Las Vegas Super Bowl rate in terms of all the Super Bowls that you've attended? It blew my mind, but I've only been to a few. Where does it rate for you?
It was okay. It was like, it's not the one where I kind of go top 5, top 3, whatever. As you get a little older, you're not as active anymore in terms of partying, right? So, but there's been some. I'll tell you one. The one that was an absolute logistical nightmare was Jacksonville. It was brutal to get around because Duval County is so huge. It's like the biggest county in the United States. And literally, like, I'll give you an equivalent from the Lower Mainland's perspective. You might be in Abbotsford and you got to get to a party in North Van. Meanwhile, your friends are in Richmond, right? I mean, it was just a logistical nightmare getting around. But the events in Jacksonville were probably amongst some of the best. I remember Jeff Garcia at that time. He was married to a Playboy Playmate. We went to his party. They had a party. I think it was Friday night. We're walking around and, like, let's just put it to you this way: the talent was off the charts. And I'm leaving early, and Chris Burns, as you know, Burns like, Moj, where are you going? I go, dude, seriously, take a look around. It's like a Cessna going up against F-18s. I'm going home. So that was a good one. But Jacksonville, that was one of the best. But yeah, Atlanta was really good. Some great stories with Atlanta, with the whole thing about the Foo Fighters. But yeah, there's been a lot of good ones.
Did you stay on a boat in Jacksonville? Because I heard there wasn't enough hotel rooms, so the media would. Where'd you stay?
No, I can't remember where we stayed. We stayed in some hotel, but it was, I
Okay.
know that they brought in cruise ships because they didn't have enough hotel rooms, and they basically had these floating hotels with, I think, 2 or 3 cruise ships that they brought in. So no, we had a hotel that time.
Talk about being creative. Well, listen, the party that you took me around to, tell me if I have this right. It was the Ditka and Jaws party.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was old NFL, which I enjoy. Old money, old people, a lot of prosthetics, gray hair. The next day, I'm with David Benefield. He gets treated like gold by the 49ers. He was there for like 2 weeks, and they treat him like he's Joe Montana. That's just the way the NFL rolls. And he's telling me about the party he was at. I'm like, we go to different parties, Mr. Furious. You know what I'm saying? His was in a club, a little wilder modes than what you and I were at. But we're older, as you mind you. I guess so is Benefield.
Yeah.
But he didn't act like it.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. So if you wanted a story, I'll tell you this one. This was a good story. So we go to the Playboy party, right? Well, hold on. Let me do a precursor. A couple of weeks, it was right before Christmas. We're going down to Phoenix. I see this guy at the Vancouver airport. He's at the same terminal as he's flying down to Phoenix, I guess. And he's got a real cool jacket. Like, it was like a Raider jacket, but it was just, it was just different. It was black, had like studs on. I walked up, I go, hey man, I'm a Raider fan. I got to tell you, I love that jacket. And dude was like, he was a rapper, right? I found this out later. So we go to the party, the Playboy party. I'm trying to remember where it was. And I'm on the floor and I start bumping into this guy, and it's Andy Fantuz, right? Right next to me. And this party was actually like, it was almost like a high school gym, right? Because the stage, when it's like when you walk into a high school or an elementary school and the stage comes up halfway to your chest. So, and they kind of like, it wasn't that, probably maybe like 500 people. It was kind of an exclusive thing. And we're kind of partying, but I look up on the stage and Snoop Dogg's performing that night, right? So I look up on the stage and his entourage are kind of sitting in these high chairs behind him. He's got like his setup at the front of the stage on one side. And there's probably like about 8 chairs where his entourage sitting. And they come out, they're kind of sitting there watching the party. Snoop hasn't come out yet. And I look at this dude, I go, hey. And I point to him. It's the guy from the airport that I saw in Vancouver with the Raiders jacket. His name's Maxon 100. He's a rapper. So, hey, I go, Vancouver airport. He goes, hey, man, how you doing? So next thing you know, we're on stage doing tequila shots. And I sat on stage with Snoop's entourage watching him spin, that was a party that was rather unique.
I'm trying to picture it. And I'm sorry, what city was that in?
You know what? I can't remember.
That doesn't surprise me.
It's a blur, man. It's coming up to 25 this year. So literally it's a blur in terms of where did that happen again or how. I mean, you remember some stories in some places, but that one I can't remember where it was.
What was the best then? Did you have a number one?
Well, I'll tell you a really cool thing. This is one that, really topped the charts. So we go to the Wheels Up party. This was in Atlanta. So Saturday work, so you go to the Steinberg party first, you go to Wheels Up, then you might find something afterwards, and you go, usually the hot ticket item, I don't know if they still have it, but it was DirecTV. And like DirecTV would have Rihanna. I saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Snoop in San Francisco at the DirecTV party. In New York, it was Jay-Z and Beyonce made a special appearance. So all of these, like the DirecTV parties are like the hottest ticket for the weekend. So I'm walking around at this Wheels Up party, and a great story. So Mike Vrabel, here's a little tidbit for you. I walk over, Vrabel's smoking a dart outside, right? And he's just having fun BSing. And I got to know Mike a little bit. Here's a little connection for you. I always talk about a small world. When Brent Johnson was a rookie at Ohio State, a freshman walking in, getting toured around campus, all that stuff, guess who's the guy who looked after him? Mike Vrabel. And Vrabel always kind of followed Brent's career and, saw how he did in the Canadian Football League and, always kind of had, followed from afar. So anyway, sidebar story, I start talking to these people, and I saw this guy with a South Carolina jacket. And I said, you played South Carolina? He goes, yeah. I go, you play football? He goes, no, I didn't play football. I said, we had a couple of guys in the Lions, Justin Sorensen, I can't remember who the other guy was, that were from South Carolina, and he didn't know him. He was a little younger. And his 2 friends are from Montreal, so one of his good friends and his girlfriend from Montreal, and then he was there with his dad. So we start chatting some more, and we introduced ourselves. He goes, how you doing? Jackie Bradley Jr. I go, like, Jackie Bradley Jr., center fielder for the Red Sox? Yeah. So it's Jackie Bradley Jr. So I said, what are you guys doing tonight? He goes, we have no plans. I go, let Let me phone my VIP concierge guy that I know. So I know this VIP concierge. Hey, I got Jackie Bradley Jr. with me, blah, blah, blah. He says, hey, he goes, the Foo Fighters are playing tonight. Their manager is a huge Boston fan. He's a huge Red Sox fan. He's from Boston. He goes, I'll get you some tickets. So he makes a phone call. Next thing you know, hey, I got 5 tickets to the Foo Fighters concert with backstage passes. They go, we're in. The next thing you know, he goes, hey, there's only 4 of us. Why don't you tag along with us? I'm like, okay. So we show up this venue. It's a temporary venue, like probably like 5,000 seating. And the next thing you know, we walk up to this tent to get the passes. They're like, no, he goes, we walk out. I go, which line do we go? She goes, that one right there. And it's like a lineup of like 100 people. Next thing you know, a person walks out of the tent and says, no.
And he's gone. No, I was hoping he would get it right under the wire. We got a break. Oh, my God. Sorry, Moj. Thanks for being such a great guy. We'll be right back.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world, thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world, thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the RP show here on Game Plus TV and the Silver State Sports Entertainment Network. And maybe Mo just flipped it on in his condo in Burnaby. And if I have this right, producer Corey, don't go anywhere. The end of the story is that they ended up partying with the lead singer of Foo Fighters. Is that correct? That was the end of the story. Okay. For me, that would be like when we ended up partying with George Strait. Right? Corey's clearly a big fan of the Foo Fighters and all the rest. It's all Greek to me. But that's the thing with Moj. That's the thing with Moj is, as you could see by the interview, he's an unbelievably great guy. But until I got to know him at Super Bowl, I just thought he was another crusty old radio guy like me. He ain't that. No. And I will tell you this. 10 years sober here, as you know, there ain't no doubt. You can't convince me otherwise. The man upstairs he sobered me up just in time to start covering these Super Bowls and things because I'd have come home in a box. I'm hearing Moj's stories. I'm getting tired. I lived that life. It's exhausting. Fun as hell. Some of us just don't know when to go home. Okay, sports update on a Wednesday. A lot of breaking news. Deshaun Watson is set to practice with the Cleveland Browns for the first time this year, starting today. This opens a 21-day window for him to return to the lineup. Green Bay Packers quarterback Jordan Love, Seattle Seahawks linebacker Ernest Jones, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers punter Riley Dixon are the NFC offensive, defensive, and special teams players of the week for games played in Week 13. Over in the AFC, Patriots quarterback Drake May, Bills cornerback Christian Benford, and Bengals kicker Evan McPherson are the offensive, defensive, and special teams players of the week. It's funny, we talk about the Bills and Christian Benford. I'm with Moj. I had the Bills in the Super Bowl this year. And it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But another reason why Moj and I get along, I don't care. I don't mind admitting that our pick was, who cares? Most people in this industry don't even want to make picks going into the season because they're afraid to look bad. I don't care. Dallas starting to, do you really look bad? It's not my fault the Bills did what they have done. Dallas Stars forward Tyler Seguin is expected to miss the rest of the NHL season with a torn ACL in his right knee. Coach Glenn Gulletson says Seguin will be out several months after the 33-year-old was injured Tuesday night at the New York Rangers. Where's my top five, bottom five? I might need to amend that I got the Dallas Stars as the second best team in the NHL. Terrible news. That is your sports update, proudly presented by Ultimate Fan Zone Sports Store Moose Jaw. Get your game day gear in store or online at ultimatefanzone.ca. I'm laughing because of Moj. You see why he's had such a long and illustrious broadcasting career. He's entertaining. Vancouver Eric writes that he says, great guest, RP. Thank you. I don't know why. It just dawned on me the other day. I got to get Moj on the air. You know what it was? I saw a photo last week from the Touchdown Kelowna announcement, and it was Moj and the owner of the Lions, Amar Doman, all dressed up to the nines out somewhere. And I'm like, oh, they're having fun in Kelowna. Turns out, must have been an old photo. I'm guilty of doing the same thing. But I'm like, I got to get Moj on the air. He's entertaining as hell. And a great guy. A fantastic guy. Rod, this is Solomon Wilcox of NFL Radio. Carlos in Indianapolis writes in. He says, it's a great segment when the break comes out of nowhere. Yep. John in Edmonton says, Rod, what do you guys think of the smaller ice at the Olympics for hockey? The commissioner of the NHL is not happy. Here's what I think, John. I know you'll never, ever listen to what I say, but it doesn't affect my life at all. So I'm not spending any time on it. So if you want to know my thoughts, that's what they are. Pretty sure Gary Bettman is fine with the fact that it's an NHL-sized arena. A little more concerned with the fact that the arena, they're racing across against the clock to get it built. But it doesn't affect me and my life, John, so I don't worry about it. You might want to try it. Overtime is coming up next here on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network across Nevada and all across Canada and 32 U.S. states on the Game Plus television network. Right back after this.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. All right, welcome back, everybody, for Overtime. What a great show it's been. And we are in the flow today. You see, I'm wearing my Overtime Hockey Lanes jacket here from Randy and Michelle at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. And I just happened to be surfing Instagram on the break, and I see this ad. Today, on their 12 Days of Christmas promotion at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, bring a donation and get $5 off your next 1 hour drop-in at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. We're collecting donations for the Veterans Association Food Bank. So again, that is Overtime Hockey Lanes, 28th Street, Northeast Calgary. What is it? It is Top Golf for hockey. What more needs to be said? It's absolutely amazing. What we do here in Overtime, because we've already been through the sports update, it is viewer takeover, and that's always a lot of fun. And what is more fun is when the viewers from Canada and the USA morph into one, and my stories can straddle the border. Joe's been watching all day in Brandon, Manitoba. And he writes in on the Western Dodge text line 902-518-3033. And he says, do you have any wild Brandon Wheat Kings Regina Pat stories from the old Keystone Center? Brah, I have a million. But one of the wildest has to do with the broadcast booth. And the current general manager of the Vegas Golden Knights, Kelly McCrimmon, was the GM and owner of the Wheat Kings and the coach for a period of time, too. And the press box, which is actually, Leah Hextall from the ESPN hockey broadcast, she was sitting just 3 feet away from me on the other side of the wall. And believe it or not, when I call hockey games, kind of loud. Baseball and football, too. I'm sorry, I'm a broadcaster. I'm not sure what you want me to do. But anyways, I'm calling the game. Kelly McCrimmon's suite, or where he was sitting, is at the far end of the press box. I didn't think he could hear me. And I could conservatively say I did dozens, if not hundreds of games. We were both in that league for a long time. I never knew Kelly could hear me. So Leah Hextall was there from the local television station, newspaper guy, a couple of the TV guys, league officials. Like, Kelly was way down there. GM of the Wheat Kings and owner. And halfway through a game, and I don't remember if it doesn't matter. It was regular season game, playoff game, whatever. I hear this slam of the door, and I knew what it was. The door of my press box open. I looked back, and it was Kelly standing there with his hands on his hips, and he's like, "What game are you watching?" And he's not happy. And I just turned to him and I said, "I don't see your name on my checks, Kelly." Back to the action. There were games, specifically, we never had any big playoff games when I was there with Regina, but I was there with PA. I was the voice of the Raiders, and we had some unbelievable East fun. Every time I see Brian McCabe in the press box in Sunrise, Florida, I think of the time Brandon got him for a playoff run, and we tried to get him, and Kelly always wins out in the trades. He got him. But, I mean, there was more people in the facility than was legally allowed. I don't know how they got away with it, but that's Kelly McCrimmon for you. What Kelly wants, Kelly gets, and that includes a Stanley Cup. Scott in Vancouver writes in, he says, "Please get Leah Hextall on the show." Noted. I don't even have a guest for tomorrow lined up, so that's a good call. C Lightning writes in, he says, "Rod's expressive voice for hockey made the game fun to listen to." I don't know. I don't know anything about that. Little old me. It was just doing my job, and I was just as fun as anybody, having as much fun as everybody in the arena. Oh, my God. Glenn writes in from Glenn with 2 N's. Yeah, we're on the Nevada Hour. Maybe we'll push this to tomorrow. He says, how about it? Any Moose Jaw Warriors versus Regina Pad stories? How about my car being vandalized outside the arena because the fans somehow found out which vehicle was mine? Significantly vandalized outside the arena. And don't get me started on the police escorts that I needed in and out of the frontier city. So, yeah. Didn't expect to be going down that road today. What did I have? Oh, can you help me out? Well, a couple of things here. What is Meta AI? And Corey, don't tell me in my ear. In the 2 minutes we have left, I want people to write in. We can talk later about this. What is Meta AI? Like, I'm not a techie, but I'm not a noob either. And I'm seeing all my friends, I'm getting these notifications. So-and-so's joined Meta AI. So-and-so's added up or signed up for Meta AI. And some guy wrote into our Facebook the other day and was all upset that the captions on our videos that we post to our social media accounts of the videos had Rough Riders spelt wrong. 2 words. And it's gray with an E, not an A. I wrote the guy back. I said, "Oh, thank God I didn't know." Thanks, because I didn't know how to spell Rough Riders. I was only the voice of the team for 20 years. Do people not know these are AI generated? They not know? Again, you don't need to be a tech guy to know that, do you? Nobody answered my question. Vancouver, Inter Miami are meeting for the MLS Championship on Saturday in Fort Lauderdale, a mere 16 miles from my house. I won't be there for it. I'll be up here doing public speaking in Canada, which I'm very grateful for. Is it just one game? We got to get to the bottom of this by tomorrow. Yeah, we covered it all. NHL top 5, bottom 5, Dallas Cowboys not going to the Super Bowl. Thanks for letting us be part of your day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow here on Silver State Sports Entertainment Network and Game Plus TV.
Dad.